is time for the BZPowercast Series 2. I'm your host, Andrew, better known on the forums as Black6, and I'm here to start off a new project we're kicking off here at BZPower. As most of you probably do not know, this is the second time BZPower has had a podcast. The first time started back in October of 2001 and was hosted by Dimensioneer, or John, the founder and one of the administrators here at BZP. And that went until May 2003, and we had 6 episodes of that until it kind of faded off. But we've been talking about bringing it back for a while now, and so we decided let's do it. So this is the first episode that we're releasing, and tried to time it a little with our 8th anniversary, but we're a little late. So we have 3 segments that are going to go on this episode. The first, I sit down and talk with Spirit about the 2009 storyline, how that ties into 2008, and we talk about the upcoming movie for a little bit and our thoughts on that. Next up, I talked to Dan, Matorn of Anger, and we're going to talk about a segment that should be pretty regular on the Powercast, How to BZP, where we talk about a little tip or trick or something to help make your BZ Power experience better. Finally, I talked to Smeagol4, and we're going to do a little retrospective about BZ Power, how we've changed in the past 8 years, and some of our fond memories from over the time we've been members. So I hope you enjoy the show. Sit back, enjoy the ride, download it to your iPod, Zune, whatever, and let us know what you think of it. Here we go. Okay, with me now is Spirit from our reference team, and we're going to talk a little bit about 2009 and how things have changed. How's it going?
Not bad, not bad, all things considered. Okay, so 2008 saw us with our last year of Toa, Matoran, etc. for a while. That kind of ends off on a kind of a bad note because Makuta finally wins. He, through a complex series of events, manages to take over Matanui's body, and the Toa do manage to wake him up, but it's only with Makuta controlling his mind. And so Matanui is trapped in the Mask of Life and fired off into space, where he lands on the nearby planet of Barra Magna. And the interesting part of this planet is that it was formerly the homeworld of the Great Beings. So we finally get to learn a bit more about them. And about 100,000 years ago, it blew up into several pieces. And this is the biggest of the pieces. Yeah. And so now...
Yeah, right, like you can see in the original teaser trailer.
Yeah, for the movie, you kind of see that the whole planet's floating through space and the bionicle logo.
Yeah, interesting little dust clouds.
Yeah, convenient that they form perfect symmetrical squiggles. So.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, now we're on Barra Magna, and we have a whole bunch of new characters, completely different from what we've seen before.
Yeah, apparently they're races of alien creatures that we knew before, the Matoran, the Toa, etc., are all mechanical creations based on them. So the Toa are based on the Glatorian, the Matoran, the Matoran are based on the Agori. And these were all people that coexisted with the Great Beings back when they were around doing stuff. And now we get to see how they're surviving after their planet blew up.
Not very well.
No. Yeah, they have huge gladiator fights over things like water and food, and apparently they can't even make their own weapons, which is pretty sad after 100,000 years.
Okay, so
yeah, and a lot has happened.
Yeah, so that takes us to, I guess, the beginning of the year. So, we've been moving along a little, finding out more about some of these characters and their main adversaries, the Skrull.
Yeah, that seems to be the main villain. They've kind of just been disputing amongst themselves, and now there's kind of a uniting an enemy that will unite them, which I guess is both a bad thing and a good thing.
Right, and of course, what we're gonna find out later this year is one hero will save them.
Ah, it's our old friend Masanui.
Yes. So, I take it you've seen the recent little sneak peeks we've seen of the movie on bionicle.com. What are your thoughts been on those and how they relate to the story?
It's pretty neat. It is pretty weird hearing Worf doing the voice of Masanui, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree there.
Um, the animation looks pretty good. So far, the story seems to kind of actually line up with what we've heard, which now that uh, Greg Farshty has actually written like the main story for the movie, it'll actually sync up to what we've already heard instead of him having to make excuses for strange choices the movie makers made.
It's always a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no more, Vakama, Hordika becoming a traitor for
Oh
some
yeah.
reason. But yeah, so that's, you know, I've heard a lot of good things from some people who have seen it, so it's looking to be a good thing. So what do you think is going to happen in the rest of this year in the story?
I don't know. I've heard rumors, I've seen things. Apparently, there's a whole secret that they find out in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and from the concept art and a map we were given, apparently there's a secret laboratory of the great beings with details on how they built Matanui, it looks like from the concept art I saw. So that'll be interesting. The, all his friends finding out that he's actually a giant robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed the map had some interesting features on it, mountains that, bore similar resemblance to some other things we've seen.
Yes, apparently the body parts were prototypes for Matanui, so
Mm-hmm.
that's the great being's failed attempts at making a giant robot.
And
Apparently
yeah,
it's not as easy as you'd think.
Imagine is Mark II.
Yep.
All right. So, anything else you feel that we should talk about on this?
Well, nothing's really happened so far, just because I think
Mm-hmm.
they're saving most of the story for the movie.
Right. Makes sense.
Really, the only big thing was that Atero, like their like capital city of the planet, kind of got invaded by the Skrull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw that
So
in
that
one of the
was
comics.
so that's bad news for the Clitorian, but they seem to be coping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I like the kind of sneak peek we got when we got to see the voice actors recording random parts of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Give a nice overview of who the characters were.
Yeah, gave some insight into, I guess, kind of the attitudes and motivations of some of the characters we haven't really seen yet in the comics.
Hmm.
All right, so I guess that's about wraps it up. Looking forward to the movie and seeing what we find out with that, and how Matt Nui becomes the Titan set that's coming out later this year. Hopefully
Well,
that'll tie in. Uh,
actually, that's apparently not to do with the storyline at all.
okay.
That's kind
I
of
had not heard that.
like an accessory. Like Greg keeps using the analogy of Spider-Man. Like you can buy a 10-foot Spider-Man, or sorry, a 10-inch Spider-Man or a 20-inch Spider-Man, and it's still the same guy. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't turn into a
Gotcha.
giant or anything.
So he's just kind of out of scale with the rest of the characters.
Pretty much, I think is what's been said.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So still, movies coming up.
Mhm.
Couple months away, actually, less than two. So it's getting close.
Indeed.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Joining me now is Dan Matern of Anger, here to do this episode's How to BZP, a segment explaining a feature or tip or trick to improve your experience on BZPower. So, what do you have for us this week?
Well, I think given recent events, we should discuss strong passwords in that.
Sounds
So,
good.
basic password stuff. You obviously want to have a strong password. It's not very good to have a weak one. And one of the keys is obviously having a longer password makes it harder to guess and that type of stuff. The longer your password, the more potential for variation in the password there is. So obviously having it longer helps. And then you want to combine letters, numbers, and symbols, makes it harder to guess as well. As again, more variation in it gives you more possibilities, and the password makes it harder to guess.
Right.
Use the entire keyboard. Don't try to use common characters a lot of times. So, use uncommon symbols. Those are harder to guess in passwords and that.
Yeah, definitely. You should probably also try mixing upper and lower case.
Yeah. And if possible, I know some places don't allow you to do it, but if you can, use the spacebar as well and make a phrase. Spaces aren't quite as common in passwords, so people don't guess them as often.
Right, and with a phrase, it can make it easier for you to remember.
Exactly. And when we're talking about making something easy to remember, don't, I like red. That's not what we're talking about here. Use something maybe the school you graduated from or something like that. Something that, you would know and not many other people on the internet would potentially know.
Right, also something that uses like proper nouns or something that wouldn't be in the dictionary would be make it harder to figure out.
Exactly. And then another thing you should do is obviously don't use the same password on multiple sites. Makes it easier to gain access to multiple accounts if one of your accounts is compromised.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen that happen a couple times recently, unfortunately. So anything where you have any account you value, you should have a unique password for.
Exactly. And so typically, if you have any kind of social networking site or email accounts, really change up your passwords between those. You don't need people getting access into those.
Right, and especially things like PayPal or a bank or something like that, anything involving financial records.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so I think that's some pretty good pointers that people can hopefully make use of. Thanks for coming on and talking about them.
All right. Thank you for having me.
So joining me now is Smeagol4, and we're going to talk a little bit about a little BZPower retrospective, seeing as how we just had our 8th anniversary. So how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty well.
All right. So yeah, I guess, we'll start off with a couple questions and see where those lead us. So, how did you find BZ Power back in the day?
Oh man, I initially found it just crawling around on the internet at the time. I was a fan of Bionicle, so searched about for Bionicle-related websites. I remember I initially found Bionicle Zone, the original forum incarnation of BZ Power, and I hung around there as a guest for a while, and then but never joined or anything. It wasn't until 2003 where I'd been regularly coming as a guest for a long time, and I finally decided to actually join. Ironically, because I wanted to post a topic in S&T, which sounds funny coming from me nowadays because I never go to that forum anymore. But I had some kind of cockamamie theory about the Vahi, and that actually drove me to join after being a regular guest for about 2 years.
Nice. Yeah, personally, I don't even remember exactly how I found it. I'm gonna guess it was from like Kanohi Power. Actually, probably it was Mike's Bionicle Island back in the
Yeah.
day. They had they were really on the cutting edge of all the Bionicle news back then, and that's probably where I found the link, either that or just some random Google search. I know I was actually in a couple communities that predated BZ Power that no longer exist, and I think most of our membership from there came over once I found out about, Bionicle Zone and spread the word.
Yeah.
So it's been almost 8 years in a couple days. It's pretty crazy.
Man. It's hard to.
So, what?
I was just saying, it's hard to believe Bionicle's that old.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
almost 10. Jeez.
Yeah. So how do you think BZPower has changed since 2001 when you first started browsing as a guest?
Oh man, I mean, obviously it's gotten a lot bigger. um, I mean, back in the really early days, especially like when I was a guest, it would just be like a handful of people browsing the forum at any given time. Now you've got hundreds of people on at one time.
Yeah, as we're
Um,
recording this, the forums are unfortunately offline, and we still have, like over 100 people still logged in, even though they can't even get
yeah,
there. It's pretty crazy. And back then when I joined, I think I was like the 22nd member to join the site, and so you'd have maybe like 10 people on at the same time. It was a lot
yeah.
different. And since then, obviously, we've grown and we've expanded to include news and reviews and a lot more reference material. And
Yeah, I remember when the reference section was outdated for however many years.
yeah, and we've fortunately gotten on top of things like that. And we have things like blogs now and
Oh
all
yeah.
sorts of other features that we've added for the members over the time, which I think are all great things that have definitely helped the community grow and stay as active as it has.
Yeah, and even like little things just on the forums, like little scripts, like the spoiler thing,
Hmm.
and all kinds of tiny things like that that just have added to using the forums, the experience, which is really neat. I think another big change has been kind of in the general direction of the way the membership reacts to things, and I mean, I remember back when I joined, that was right when we were starting the whole Roxy craze, when we were first getting the pictures of them and waiting for the sets to come out. And of course, those were, I mean, absolutely blew all of our minds. I mean, I'm sure you remember
Oh
that,
yeah.
how insane those were at the time. And we thought they were just about the coolest things ever. And there was that giveaway, and everybody wanted one. And uh, it seemed like Bionicle was getting progressively more surprising, but in all good ways at the time.
Hmm.
Now that we've had all these years of Bionicle resting on its laurels, it seems like the first reaction to everything is disdain or
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah,
And,
everyone, no one likes the sets when they come out right away, and they usually grow on you though. And it's
yeah,
funny because if looking back then, the Roxy were such a huge fad, but looking at them now, like for the time, yeah, they're revolutionary, but all six of them were pretty much clones.
yeah,
And nowadays we keep clamoring for more and more unique stuff, and back then we were happy with what we had.
yeah,
Sound
exactly.
like an old fogey, but that's how
Dude,
it was.
back in 2001 when there were no knees, no elbows, no head movement. Man.
We had to turn the gears if we wanted our Bionicle sets to move.
And we liked it, gosh darn it. I remember when I thought I was the coolest person ever because I made this modification to my Toa that allowed them to turn their heads,
Hmm.
but it still looked official. Like a lot of people were like sticking the ball joints
Right.
on, but it didn't look the same as the normal sets. And I figured out this way using this one pin piece that could make them turn their heads without it. And I was like, dude, I'm the coolest person ever. I posted that in BBC.
Yeah,
Uh,
take that stuff for granted now.
yeah, yeah.
So, what kind of fond memories do you have from BZPower? We've touched on a couple things, but anything else in particular?
Oh man. I mean, I'd say overall my whole experience in general has been extremely positive. I some particular things that stand out. Um, remember when I got my first proto point way back in 2003 um, from Mahalis, or am I even pronouncing that correctly? Um,
It's an internet name. No one knows how to pronounce it
Yeah,
correctly.
and he was a mod in the art forum at the time. For those of you that don't remember him, really cool guy. Did great 3D art.
Still does,
Was
but just not
but
with
still does. Yeah,
BZPower.
moved on to bigger and better things. But he was a moderator in the art forum, and I that was where I hung out a lot at the time. And yeah, I just helped here and there. Just 'cause why not? It's a good thing to do. And he sent me a personal message that said. It was something like, well, Smigo 4, I've been watching you for some time now and watching your behavior in the artwork forum, and I thought I could just let it slide and not do anything about it, but it's just becoming too much to bear, and I'm just gonna have to step in and do something about it. All very very ominous. Then he said, so. +1p, thanks. Because I was like having a heart attack because I was reading this message. I was like 13 at the time.
I
And,
know of a few other members who probably have a fairly similar reaction or a fairly similar memory and had a similar reaction when they got proto points or got promoted.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that comes as a bit of a shock. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, and it's. Oh, sorry.
No, go, keep going.
It's a lot similar to like when Ninja asked me to be on the staff.
Hmm.
It was equally shocking. Just things like that. And of course, all my experiences since then being on the staff has been so much fun. I mean, um, as for like strictly fondest memory though, it's really hard to choose because, like I said, it's all these good little memories like that. But if I had to say something in particular, it'd probably be meeting a bunch of my friends from BZ in person at things like Brick Fair and such like that. Probably Brick Fair 2008. As of this recording, has probably been the most fun I've had with a BZ Power related activity thus far.
Yeah, I definitely say my fondest memory would have been Toy Fair in 2005, which was, the first time I had ever gone there and the first time I had ever met anyone else from BZ Power in person. I got to meet Bionicle Rex and Kaiapu, Rich and Michael, the two other admins here, or one former. And yeah, that was definitely pretty crazy experience. I'm technically like a member of the press there, and got to
Yeah.
see all these sets and do coverage for everyone else on BZ Power. So it was
Oh,
a really great experience, and definitely the Brick Fests and the Brick Fairs and all those events that I've been to over the years, and all the people, they're
yeah.
really special.
Yeah, my time going to Toy Fair, and hanging out with you and Honey, which was tons of fun, um, was probably my most impressive memory because, like you said, exactly the same sort of things. And of course, Brick Fest 2006, which was the first Brick Fest or Brick Fair that I went to, and we all had that awesome pizza dinner at the CPK.
Yep.
The,
Little CPK.
yeah, I mean that's obviously a huge happy memory. But like as of this recording so far, Brick Fair 2008 was probably the most fun I've had. Just having you and Brian and Patrick and everybody there. I mean that was
Yeah,
good
and
times.
I think it's shaping up to be an even better time this
Oh,
year. So.
oh, yeah. Oh, Deb's coming, of course.
So yeah, I mean things have changed, we've grown, but I think we're still a pretty awesome community, and I'm glad. I hope to see us keep on growing. So that concludes the first episode of Series 2 of the BZPowercast. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get more of these up. We're planning on once a month. We'll see if we can actually hit that schedule. I'm going to see about getting us listed on the iTunes and Zune Music Store podcast lists, and we'll hopefully have an RSS feed up too, so you can subscribe to that and be able to get the latest episodes automatically, however you may like. Of course, you're probably reading this from the front page, and we'll always be posting our new episodes there. So leave us feedback in the forums, and see you next time.